I was hoping Kosho or Jesse would be in here, dude, because I wanted
Okay.
to bring them up to speed to the slam dunk of Wang, dude, that I didn't realize when I was talking to him the other day. Like, can answer all their questions and stuff, and it's just like
Bring it
so
up because I remember Jesse. Wait, Jesse's argument was they didn't use a beam splitter, but
yeah,
the double barrel laser, it comes out of one cavity. It just splits it with inside the laser. That's from what I researched.
yeah. So, well, also there's another. So, okay, we like read through it more. There's another diagram in his patent which shows that they have a photo detector inside. They have two photo detectors inside the laser cavity. So, what the laser cavity is like a resonant cavity. So, what it's doing is it's like the laser beam is like, or the frequency they're pumping into it is resonating, but the
Uh-huh.
actual laser itself is being created as a standing wave, which is like the resultant wave of the resonant waves. And the standing wave, it has a constant amplitude. It doesn't go left to right like a normal waveform does. It only goes up to down, up and down. So it stays its same shape. So if there is a fringe difference between the two laser beams, it will be a constant fringe difference. So those little photodetectors, they measure that constant fringe difference of the lasers when they're leaving the laser
Uh-huh.
resonant chamber, so that at the end they already know what the constant fringe difference was at the beginning, and they can just factor that out.
Mm.
Yeah. So like you remember Jesse was like, well, yeah, like if he could find a way to get the laser beams in phase, I don't see why it wouldn't work, but I just don't think he was ever successful. Like, remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's part of the patent, bro. It's in there.
Okay. And then I also have another deal, man. Here from Felkami. Are you familiar with him?
Who?
Felkami, he's a staunch Glober in here.
Oh, where's he at?
Well,
He's
I
not
was
in
talking
the
about
chat.
him with Wang the other day.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So here, let me show you the diagram. Live. What do you call? What do you go? Living, dream. What do you?
I
Whatever.
don't even. uh,
Here's this
like I
diagram.
don't know. I don't even remember making my username. I just logged on to Discord, and then that's what it was. So I just rolled with it. But yeah, living the dream. It don't matter, dream.
So you remember this is like the picture we were looking at, right? This is the little laser cavity. This part right here that he was talking about. He was like, I don't see why it wouldn't work, but if he was able to get these two lasers in phase, but I don't. He doesn't see how he'd be able
Where
to do that,
Where'd
right?
you post? Oh, you're sharing your screen.
So, but this is the part, this box right here, W1 and W2 with the laser. That's what he was talking about, right? This is what me and him were talking about. So,
Right.
if you simply just scroll down here to Figure 4, he shows you what the inside of that laser cavity looks like. So the laser beam, that's shooting out. It's a double-ended laser, right? And it's shooting a standing wave. So the cool thing about a standing wave is it's uniform throughout the thing, or it's uniform when it's made. It's got a
Mm-hmm.
constant amplitude, so that once the wave begins traveling in opposite directions from the center point, if there is a phase difference that's created by the motion, which if it's in motion, it'll have a small one. These
Mm-hmm.
photo detectors right here, right? Well, I can't highlight them, but right here you see them, transparent photo detector. Those photo
Mm-hmm.
detectors will register that constant, because the phase difference will be constant. It'll register that constant phase difference so that at the end, when they do their math, they can factor it out.
Mm.
Yeah, so
So they accounted for it.
yeah, they accounted for it, bro.
Nice. Let me try and see Felkami's deal, man, here. Because he had a different interpretation than Jesse. Okay, so I dropped the patent for him. He said, oh, wow, that is a creative patent to say the least." Should I just like at you in this, or should I just read it?
You can at me or read it. Read it, bro. That's fine. You can do both.
Okay. So he said, "This is how it works. The two counter-propagating light/laser beams along a path meeting at an interferometer. A standing light pattern is generated to represent the stable, non-moving state. When acceleration is applied, the path is momentarily distorted due to the acceleration, which is then picked up by the interferometer." The device is turned 180 degrees so that the momentum in one direction of the device is reversed. This effectively produces a counter acceleration as the device's momentum shifts. So yes, this is an actual speedometer that works by flipping itself 180 degrees and measuring the change in acceleration.
Well, it doesn't.
That
It
didn't,
doesn't flip itself. That doesn't
yeah,
happen.
that
Yeah,
didn't
it's not.
seem too right to me. And like what he's describing is more like an accelerometer, not a speedometer, right?
Yeah.
Just saying that verbiage before his last sentence to me sounded like, because I work with it a lot, it sounded like ChatGPT.
Huh. Okay. Right.
I'm just saying.
You
I'm
kind
just
of
that's
tell.
Yeah.
just a little insight.
So to be clear,
Yeah.
what he's doing here, right, is when he shoots these lasers out and it bounces around this configuration, and you get W1 and W2 out here out the left, or figure 3 is better to show it. You get W1 and W2 here out the left. You can see the paths up here. So it's got path 11 and 12 and 21 and 22. So what these numbers mean, right? The first number is the laser beam, and the second number is the detector. So that means like path 11 would be laser 1, detector 1. Path 12 would be laser 1, detector 2. And same for 21, 22. It shows here you've got
Wait. Because it
you've got
says path 11, and then is that a 2 or is that a comma? Oh,
path
that's a
11,
comma.
comma,
Okay.
then it says W1,
Kosho's in here
detector
now,
1.
by the way.
What's up, Kosho?
Okay, so path 11.
Yeah, so it just shows basically right here on the left, you've got path 12 and 22. So you got laser
Mhm.
1 and laser 2 on detector 2. And then over here, you got path 11 and 21. That's laser. The point is you got
Okay.
both lasers hitting both detectors. Okay.
Right.
There's going to be a fringe difference at each one,
Mhm.
which that's like the straight up standard Sagnac effect when you get that fringe difference. But what he does is because these counterpropagating lasers like counterpropagate in both directions, he can take each difference and then take the difference of the differences to get the one-way speed of light. Okay,
Mhm.
that's the whole point of this. That's what's detecting the absolute velocity. And as far as making sure that the lasers in the beginning are in phase, that's what Figure 4 is for. The laser that he's using, it's a standing wave laser, which the whole point of the standing wave laser is just to make sure that whatever phase difference happens at the beginning is a constant phase difference, right? It's going to maintain the phase difference
Right.
at the beginning. So when it comes past these photodetectors, they measure that phase difference and then they're able to factor it out at the end.
Right.
So it makes perfect sense, and it solves the question that he had. Like that was his, I mean, I don't know what else you would do with it other than to contest it on this ground, but Wang already thought of that.
Well, I got more arguments from the other side. So, what do you say to people who say the patent's expired?
I mean, how does that matter?
He
Yeah,
still
what
has the
is
right
that?
to. No, bro. I'm on your side, but
I know. I'm just laughing at the question. I'm not laughing at you at all, brother.
right.
No, I know this isn't you, but that would be. I mean, like, how is that relevant if it expired or not? I mean,
Yeah.
Well, it must have
So it's
not have
not
worked, so that's why it expired. And he never went after it again.
and just to like clarify
I mean, I don't see any other argument with that.
just to clarify like what's happening with his setup compared to his experiment, because this was the experiment, right? When you
Right.
look at this setup right here, okay, you can imagine each of these detectors, detector 1 and detector 2, as one half of this loop. So you could say like the bottom half of the loop is the top half of the loop is detector 1, the bottom half of the loop is detector 2, right?
Mhm.
And he gets the phase difference, right, at each detector. But he subtracts the difference of the differences. So he's finding the difference within the loop between the two sides of the loop. And then in his original experiment, he had the measuring device, the FOG, moving along with the bottom one half of the loop. The measuring device moves with one half of the loop, but not the other, uniformly with one half of the loop. So it's basically synchronized to one half of the loop. That's the synchronization in the original. Sorry, I'm clicking wrong right here. The synchronization in the original experiment is analogous with the synchronization of like the dual-ended laser with the photodetectors. So
Wait, so where's the laser in the picture you were just at
which one? This
previously?
one?
Yeah.
Well, the laser here is inside of the fiber optic cable.
Inside the cable.
It's the light inside the fiber optic cable.
Right. This is the
And
one
then,
from the paper, right?
yeah, this is the 2004 paper.
And then the
So,
patent.
yeah, the patent it was granted. It was filed in 04, I think, 04, 05. It was granted in 09.
And then wait,
But,
so why does it not matter that it's expired? He still retains like rights over this intellectual property, right?
I'm not a big guy on patent law. I'm not sure about that, like, how patent law works and expiry
Right.
works and all that. But I mean, him filing this in 2009 and then it eventually expiring has no bearing on the validity of it. Like that's not like that's like a
Right.
non-argument. I mean, Toyota has a patent for the same thing now. So does Nikon.
Right.
There's multi-billion-dollar corporations doing this now, but Wang was the first one. But what is this? Is this he did 2 years later? He did a very similar setup, actually much simpler setup, and it's
Right.
crazy how simple it is. I didn't realize how simple it was. It's like, check this out. You remember the Michelson-Morley interferometer?
Mm-hmm.
He shows that you can get the one-way speed of light with a Michelson-Morley interferometer.
Wow.
What he did is he did a normal Michelson-Morley interferometer. The only thing he changed is he took one of the mirrors and changed one of the mirrors to be a phase conjugate mirror. So the difference between a regular mirror and a phase conjugate mirror, a regular mirror just like reflects the light back. A phase conjugate mirror sends the light back inside of its own footprint that it came in. So when you subtract when you do the phase conjugate mirror, it flips one half of the light 180 degrees out of phase.
Mhm.
So that when you subtract the difference between the regular reflection and the phase conjugate reflection, you also get the one-way speed of light.
Mm.
So he's like, you could also do it this way, and this way is actually much simpler. Like, you just flip one of the mirrors, and there you go. Like, when I first went over this, I was like, there's no way it can be that simple, right? Like, it can't be that simple, can it? It's like, no, it is. Yeah, but this was in 06 that he did this. Also, he and Ron Hatch, I didn't even realize him and Ron Hatch had done this paper at first, but is it going to load?
So the 2006 one, they didn't use the Sagnac effect?
The 2006 one, well, actually, the whole point was, and I'm going to show you in this, it's towards the end of this paper. I'm going to show you. It's like right in one of these paragraphs right here. He says in this paper, him and Ron Hatch did a paper together about GPS and the Sagnac effect and special relativity. But he explicitly states here, I'm trying to find the paragraph because I didn't highlight it, that the
What year
Sagnac
was this?
effect, this one, it doesn't have a date on it. I could get the date from the website probably, but this doesn't have a date in the paper. It was before his experiments, though. I think it was like 99 or 98. But he says specifically here that the Sagnac effect is caused by the motion of the receiver, and it's not just rotational motion, it's just like any motion. But I'm trying to find the paragraph. He even talks about how the relativity of here we go. Here's a Sagnac effect. The effect of the movement. There we go. The effect of the movement of the receiver during the transit time of a GPS signal is referred to in the GPS system as the one-way Sagnac effect. That's not a loop. It's one way, right? Like, that's not supposed to be a thing. Like, as Einstein defined it, like Einstein basically said that, if you were to take motion and stretch it out over like a very large area, right? All motion like ends up becoming linearized, right? And so he basically thought, and it was kind of the rescue device for Michelson-Morley at one point. He basically thought that you wouldn't be able to detect motion unless it was rotational. Or sorry, you wouldn't be able to detect linear motion. You'd only be able to detect rotational motion. And then when Sagnac came along and demonstrated this, it is rotational motion, but then Wang comes along and is like, oh no, bro, it's linear motion too. That's what him and Hatch are talking about in this. This one-way Sagnac effect is not a rotational effect.
Mm.
Here it is. However, it is not at all evident that the Sagnac effect is due to rotation. Ives claimed in 1938 the effect is not due to rotation and proposed an experiment in which the light followed a hexagonal path, and he claimed that the detector could be moved linearly along one side of the hexagonal path and the effect would still be present. Recently, Wang has proposed some first-order interferometric experiments, and their results will show that the Sagnac effect exists not only in circular motion, but also in translational motion. And that's what Wang did in 04.
Dang, translational motion is linear, right?
Yeah. Translational motion is just like I'm moving something across the table.
Right.
If I was to take a loop and spin it around, that loop spinning is rotational. But if I was to take the loop and like while it's spinning, move it across the table, the moving across the table part would be the translational or the linear.
Right.
And they specifically addressed 3 claims by this Ashby dude who's like trying to make it work within relativity, and they just like slam dunk him on all 3 of them. And then here's the fundamental question. As the discussion of the Sagnac effect indicates, the fundamental question regarding the speed of light is the following. Is the speed of light constant with respect to the observer, or is it constant with respect to the chosen inertial frame? See, special relativity says it will be constant for all observers within the same inertial frame, right? So that means that if we're all on the Earth, and the Earth is our ECI frame, and that means any observer anywhere on Earth compared to any other observer anywhere else on Earth, the speed of light should be constant for both of us. But that's the it's not. That's the fundamental principle on the GPS corrections. They have to. The fact they have to make corrections for it at all disproves this directly.
It's anisotropic.
Yeah, it's anisotropic. It's really funny actually the way they start out the argument here, because they talk about sound. Yeah, so right here, okay. Do we have a principle of the constancy of the speed of sound because of the constant speed of sound appearing in the propagation delay equation? No, we don't. Contrarily, we say the speed of sound is not independent of the motion of the observer. Why? In fact, when we judge whether the speed of sound is or isn't independent of the observer's motion, the speed of sound is measured in the frame of the observer, not the frame of the air. And he quotes directly from a physics textbook. He says, from the physics textbook, we can find the fact that the speed of light is independent of the motion of the source is not at all troublesome. But is it also independent of the motion of the detector? Certainly the speed of sound is not. If the detector rushes toward the source, moving with respect to the air, the measured speed of sound increases. Just imagine 2 identical ships headed toward a motionless sound-emitting buoy. And he sets up this thing with 2 ships, one that's sitting still and one that's moving towards a buoy. The buoy is sending a signal out towards the ships. And so you got a receiver at the front end and the back end of the ship, and so you time how long it takes for the signal to go from the first receiver to the second one. It's going to be shorter for the ship that's moving towards the emitter, right? And they show this to show how we don't presume the speed of sound to be constant relative to the observer. And then they make a point. Well, it's like, well, if it's not constant for sound, why would you assume it's constant for light? Because I can treat the light wave the same as I do the sound wave, and I can just say that instead of a buoy shooting out a sound wave to the ship, the buoy is shooting out a GPS signal to the ship, and the ship moves towards the GPS buoy. It does literally the same exact thing. It would not be constant. To think that the light would arrive to both receivers on the stationary ship at the same timing that it would on the 2 receivers on the ship moving towards it, it's absurd, because it's the same thing happening with the sound. So like they dumb it down like big time on here, and they're like, look bro, it's a wave. It's behaving as a wave, right? Okay. It goes out from a source, right? Okay. Well, if a sound wave has different timing, if the receiver's moving towards it, so would the light. And in fact, that's exactly what GPS says as well. So it's a pretty cool paper. And it's just like, it's so obvious, bro. It's like, duh. It's like, why would you think anything different? Oh yeah, because they built an entire universe off of C being constant, and they can't say otherwise. That's the reason.
Yeah, they're kind of boxed in.
And like people try, and the thing is people tried to badmouth this Ron Hatch before he wrote this, he was already writing stuff about GPS, and then Wang collaborated with him. But dude, Ron Hatch was literally the president of the Institute of Navigation. Here's his little biography in the paper. It says Ron Hatch received his Bachelor of Science in Physics and Math in '62 from Seattle Pacific University. He worked at Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab, Boeing, and Magnavox before working as a GPS consultant. In '94, he joined these people in starting what is now Navcom Technology Inc. So he started a corporation about Navcom Tech. He served a number of roles within the Institute of Navigation, including chairman of the satellite division. He's currently finishing a one-year term as president of the Institute of Navigation. He received the Johannes Kepler Award from the satellite division and the colonel, whatever this award is. He's also a fellow of ION. He's been awarded 12 patents, either as inventor and co-inventor, and most of the patents relate to GPS. This is the dude that they brought in to do the corrections to GPS satellites to make their positioning work. And he writes extensively in his other papers about the GPS Sagnac corrections. But then he pairs up with Wang here, and he's like, here's how that disproves Einstein right on its face.
Are there any Ron Hatch lectures or interviews? I know I've seen him on The Principle, right?
The Principle.
What
do you mean?
The Sun Genis, Robert.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
You haven't seen that?
No, I didn't know Ron Hatch was on there. I've only looked at his papers. I haven't seen any.
Bro, who's the one? What's it did the in the field with Robert?
Oh, you're talking about that guy. No, that's a different
No,
guy.
they have both of them in there.
What?
Bro, who's the one who did the in the field? Well, I don't know why I can't remember his name right now.
Robert
Robert
Bennett.
Bennett. Right, so it's got Bennett and Ron Hatch in there in the Principle.
I didn't realize that. Okay. Who did the Principle?
Sun Genis. So
Okay.
And then Witsit did an interview with him too.
Here's the conclusion section, bro. The strong evidence is that the constancy of the speed of light is wrong. The speed of light is not always c relative to a moving observer. Instead, the speed of light is always c relative to the chosen inertial frame. When that's true, he's like, if we set the Earth as the inertial frame, the speed of light relative to the frame itself is constant, but relative to moving observers inside that frame, it's not. It's like, duh, that's how every other wave ever works. Why would light be different? We don't invent different math for light. And a crucial experiment using GPS has been proposed to verify this claim. But yeah, dude, it's just like, dude, the more you look into it becomes so much more of a slam dunk every time you read this stuff. It becomes so it's so simple, bro. Like, it's not difficult to understand. It's the analogy with sound waves instead of light waves is like beautiful. Because how are you going to argue with that, bro? How are you going to say that the sound wave and the light wave are different? You could even, if you wanted, you could theoretically give them the same velocity, just a magic sound wave, right? Like, it wouldn't matter, right? Where was the boat? Here we are. There's the boats. Yeah, dude, I don't know, but I want to show this this part of the Wang patent to Jesse and see if he has a stillman for it. Where you at, Kosho?
Yeah, Kosho and Jesse are awfully quiet.
Well, Jesse ain't even here.
Well, that was so funny the other day when Jesse was acting like he was trying to school you or something. Like, I was dying laughing over here by myself. And he kept trying to school you. He's like, so once you want to figure out how Wang's thing actually worked, and then you kept schooling him at every corner, on every angle.
The Toyota one, bro. The Toyota one is like hilarious when you read the opening paragraph, like the intro. Hold on, let me paste it. Let me paste the intro real quick.
Yeah, I don't want to take credit for that, but I'm definitely taking credit for that. I dropped.
Oh, you found it back in January, bro.
Yeah. Is Wang still in the U.S.?
As well, I think it online it says he works at St. Cloud University. I don't know if that's still true, but he did for a super long time. Yeah, okay. Toyota Central R&D Labs Incorporated, patent number that. Abstract. Problem to be solved. To achieve an absolute speed meter. capable of measuring absolute speed, independent of environment. Okay, solution. And then that's what the patent is for. Here, we found the solution, guys. It includes a light source, a photodetector, and a Mach-Zehnder interferometer. With the first arm and second arm optically coupled between the light source and photodetector. And then when it talks about what they do the same thing Wang did. The first and second arms include areas where light is propagated in the same direction as the direction of movement of the mobile object. That's like in his experiment where he has the ring laser or the fiber optic gyro moving along with the bottom half of the loop. And then where light is propagated in the reverse direction, respectively, that's the top half of the loop that's moving the other way. So they're doing the same thing, just with a different setup.
So, yeah, I mean, it's looking like you can almost take pretty much any interferometer and have it measure one-way speed or absolute speed. Because, I mean, when they said they could measure the translational speed with the Sagnac effect, or
yeah,
they've generalized
the Sagnac effect. They showed that the Sagnac effect is not caused by rotational motion. The Sagnac effect is just caused by motion. Like, it's just motion, period.
So you could do it with the Sagnac interferometer, and then he showed you could do it with like almost a Michelson-Morley setup too, right?
Yeah,
you
he
measure
did
the
it
one-way speed.
Yeah, he showed that if you want to do it with the Michelson-Morley setup, you just make one of the mirrors normal and one of the mirrors phase conjugate.
And then Toyota's saying you can do it with the Mach-Zehnder interferometer.
The Mach-Zehnder interferometer setup they have, it's doing the same thing that Wang did. It's just doing it a different way.
Right. That's why I said I don't know if did you hear when PhD Chronicle was in here?
I don't know. No, what's up?
What he said it's proposal season, right? So he's writing all his proposals for funding. He's like submitting proposals for funding to all these places. Cause like I had a discussion with him before. I'm like, bro, he's like, oh, I don't see you guys writing any proposals, right? I was like, but they're not gonna fund anything that's gonna, tear down their paradigm, right? But he came in here the other day, like it's proposal season. You guys writing your proposals? And I was like, let's collab, like let's work on something. He's like, okay, what do you propose? I'm like an absolute speedometer, and he didn't want to do it. He like refused to do it. I was like, if I gave you 100 million right now, would you give it your best attempt? He's like, nah, I don't really. It's not about the money for me. And I was like, what?
Who is that guy?
He's a PhD, I think, astronomy. He's working on now. He said he's like looking towards the center of the Milky Way and trying to spot black holes. But he has a PhD.
Dude, I can't imagine going to school for 10 years, for 12 years for astronomy, bro.
It's pretty crazy.
Well, it's just like those people are the ones who would be the most shell-shocked by having to like change their mind, right? Like they have a bigger mental barrier to accepting any of this than anybody, because not only did they go through the regular indoctrination everybody else did, they also spent like, probably six figures in student loan debt and 10 to 12 years of their life learning like upper level versions of this stuff.
Right.
And then it's like, oh yeah, by the way, the earth isn't moving, dude. And it's like, how are they ever going to want to accept that?
Well, how would it change? Because, I mean, they're still looking at, like, phenomena out there, right? I mean, they would just have to look at it through a more scientific lens, like, not assuming everybody's past assumptions, right? They would have to just, like, make actual observations and stuff. I don't know.
Hey, Piezo, that talk was fire, bro. I'm going to clip it, just that whole section you just came in and laid out. Thanks for sharing all that.